Penn State football gets a commitment in the class of 2028. I'm Thomas Frank Carr, Ryan Snyder. We're here discussing a big pickup for the Nittany Lions. Not only is it, early for the class of 2028, but it's also an important position. So, Ryan, just take us through what happened today for Penn State on the eve of the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, Nittany Lions pick up, in my opinion, one of their biggest commitments yet of the Matt Campbell era, and quarterback James Armstrong out of Hopewell High School in Aliquippa, PA, 6'2", 215 we have him listed at. He's a four-star prospect by Rivals and in the industry rankings. Not only that, but right on the border of being a top 10 prospect. You see there, if you're watching on YouTube here, 9th by Rivals as far as quarterbacks go, 12th in the industry rankings, 5th, 3rd in PA. It doesn't really matter at this point, but what matters is he's a heck of a player and a perfect fit for the Matt Campbell culture, I think. A lot of ways to look at it, right? One, absolute gamer. Every sport he plays, one of the best athletes out there, maybe the best athlete out there. I think a lot of fans saw what he did on the gridiron last year as a sophomore, totaled almost 3,000 yards total. It was around 2,200 yards passing, around 800 yards rushing. Finished with 38 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, by the way. Very good season, especially for a sophomore. Then goes into basketball, averages almost 20 points a game, 14 boards. Heck of a player out there, wins a bunch of awards for that. And then goes into baseball season, hits, it was like 385, I want to say, a bunch of stolen bases, right? Leadoff guy. So
it must be fun. It must be fun.
It must
Sports
be.
Are easy and fun. Why wouldn't everyone do this?
I'm jealous, no doubt. But and so let's start with gamer, as I mentioned, but also I think he's an excellent peer recruiter and one of the best guys that you could get committing 16 months in advance. Of course, the quarterback, right? That's always an important part. You want to get your quarterback in. Quarterbacks normally fall a little sooner. That's kind of common in modern day recruiting. To get a top 10 quarterback, one of the best players in state to commit early, that's all fantastic. But his personality, leadership skills, all those kind of things just fit Matt Campbell's staff perfectly. And I think as we'll learn with time and as fans will learn and maybe a bunch of other recruits in the region, just a dynamic personality that, I could see being attractive to other players, especially wide receivers, skill position players, all those kind of things. So just a fantastic young man, really has his head on straight, cares about the right things. And yes, we're talking about a player who's committing 16 months ahead of time. It's modern day recruiting. I'll never say never, ever in recruiting. I've learned that over 16 years or so. But I think he's Penn State. And I think this is going to stick. You never know who's going to come calling and maybe throw a bag here or there. But this is not one of those recruitments where it's like, it's committing early. Let's see what happens. I think he's been Penn State through and through for a while now. He admitted, Penn State's been the favorite, and we've known that. But this isn't one of those kind of making a quick decision and, we'll see where things go. I really do believe he's going to end up signing with the Nittany Lions and being a heck of a player for them down the road. It's just so many different ways that you could use him. I remember on the previous staff, they were wondering if he would be a wide receiver or definitely a quarterback. And of course, that was more so based on his freshman season. As he put more film together as a sophomore, there was no question he's going to be a quarterback at the next level.
Yeah, he's a football player. We'll get into the film breakdown here in just one second, but a guy that is dynamic in a bunch of different ways, but is clearly a quarterback. This is always the hard part about discussing these things, Ryan, because they come with a bunch of embedded and kind of shorthand language. I think he's a true dual threat quarterback, but usually dual threat means you're not as good of a passer, and I don't think that's the case. There's some areas where I think he can improve, but he's obviously a quarterback that is athletic. But as a freshman, you're still trying to puzzle that out. Now we see that as an absolute in his profile. And so how would you say the relationship and that aspect of like the build between him and Jake Waters and Matt Campbell and Taylor Mauser all went? Because I know that's a foundational aspect. You mentioned he's a Matt Campbell kind of guy. How has all that come together in the last 6 months or so, or however long it has been since they've been making those inroads?
Yeah, so visited Penn State 6 times total. A majority of those, I believe, were under the previous staff. We know he was We'll put it this way. He was offered by the previous staff like right before everything happened. I believe it was late September. Terry Smith did a good job there of kind of being the middleman in between all that. And his interest in Penn State was always high enough that, the Nittany Lions were going to be in the mix. As that has progressed then, and, of course, Jake Waters gets in here, Mauser, and Campbell too. They have kind of taken over a little bit more. It hasn't really fallen on Terry Smith's shoulders. Of course, everybody knows Terry's a very popular guy out there in Pittsburgh and a heck of a recruiter. So he was involved. But Mauser and Waters, that relationship and that growth is really kind of what made it easier for him. The other thing too is he, as you were just showing there on YouTube, T. Frank, the clips of him at camp. And we spoke a little bit about he's gone to multiple camps, right? Went to Kentucky, went to Florida State. I think he did one at Ohio State. He's done quite a few camps here in this last summer. And honestly, one thing that was kind of interesting to me was he was saying, at times he's gotten nervous at camps. And he's not a nervous player at all. If you watch the film, he plays very loose. And I think that is a quality that you don't always find in high school prospects, even ones as highly as touted as him.
Yeah.
But the Penn State camp was the one, he said, that really kind of felt loose. Like he wasn't just a performer out there and, trying to think of the little details that these coaches are watching. It was just a setting where he got better, and he got better easily in a situation where he's working with Waters for the first time and just felt comfortable. And I think that's certainly played a part in it. But, the relationship was always key. It's relationships are big in recruiting, right? As is money nowadays. Let's be honest about that too. But I felt he came and visited in March. We saw him actually. We were at that practice, and we knew then that Penn State was going to be in a good spot. The relationship was there. I think he needed to go through and see some other schools because he really didn't visit a ton of schools. Like you'll see, I don't know, 7 or 8 schools kind of marked. But this year he went to Ohio State, Michigan State, Kentucky, Florida State. Like that was all kind of here in recent months, and I think that really kind of helps solidify in his head that he's ready to do this now. He doesn't have to wait a little bit longer, see what other schools come, go visit that SEC game in the fall. I think that was a big part, getting out there, traveling a little bit. And he always knew Penn State was there. I think getting out and seeing other schools just kind of solidified it, made it easier to make a decision now on July 2nd.
So I don't know if I want to ask you directly about like NIL impact of this decision, but it seems like getting a top 10 quarterback here in 2028 feels like there is a value here for Penn State. And I don't know what the compensation in terms of all those things play out, but if it's a guy that wants to go to Penn State and it's a guy that is making this decision early, he's obviously not maximizing his value over time. So I guess like, how do you interpret some of those signals that you're getting on that end?
A win that Penn State needs to get as often as they can, if that makes sense. I mean, there was a reason that they have often tried to get on the previous staff, get those guys in the boat early, right? And keep them from not visiting other schools and all those things. And I really believe James Armstrong was one of those guys. I don't see him going out and visiting, a bunch of other schools. I'll never say never, but his personality, character, leadership, all those kind of things, it fits Penn State perfectly. So, what's he going to make? All those kind of stuff. I don't even know if they have gotten into that really, because it is so early. 2027s, of course, it's a little different right now, but I'm sure to some degree there's been discussions. Don't get me wrong, but I think Penn State will always benefit from getting guys who really want to be there, especially talented players, getting them in the boat early, and of course, keeping them from visiting other schools.
Okay, so I'm going to give some of my film breakdown here in just 1 second, but like the video and subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel if you're enjoying the fact that Penn State is getting a July commitment like it's an old school recruiting process, but of course one for 2028. And if you're finding this on replay in a couple of days or whatever, maybe you get it to after the holiday weekend, subscribe here to the YouTube channel and enable notifications. Then you'll get a little buzzer on your phone and you'll be able to get updates when we go live, when we post breaking news like commitment videos. And right now you're going to hear from AJ Freedom Financial. Penn State fans know that confidence comes with having the right game plan. And when retirement is getting closer, many people have the same questions. Will my money last? Am I prepared for market volatility? Do I have a real plan for retirement and income taxes? At AJ Freedom Financial, we help pre-retirees and retirees build personalized retirement plans designed around their goals, timelines, and comfort with risk. From retirement incomes and tax-aware planning to legacy and investment strategies, we focus on helping clients move forward with greater clarity and confidence. If you'd like a second opinion on your current financial plan, or want to build a retirement strategy you can feel better about, we invite you to schedule a no-obligation meeting in Plymouth Meeting or one of our locations near you. Visit AJ Freedom Financial at www.ajffi.com or call 866-383-6899 today. That's AJ Freedom Financial at ajffi.com. AJ Freedom Financial, helping Nittany Lions fans plan for what's next.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Gradient Securities, LLC. Arden Hills, Minnesota, 866-991-1539. Member FINRA, SIPC. Gradient Securities, LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor, offers investment advisory services under the DBA of Gradient Wealth Management. Gradient Securities, LLC, and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting services. Insurance products and services offered through AJ Freedom Financial. AJ Freedom Financial and Freedom Financial Insurance, LLC are not affiliated with Gradient Securities, LLC.
The scrambling ability, the running ability, and the play extending ability that James Armstrong has, because those are three separate things, and it's really important that we categorize them properly, because this is a really important skill set that he has, and one that is truly exciting and unique and dynamic that he brings to Penn State, which the team hasn't had in quite some time at quarterback. So there's nothing really to break down about this particular highlight you're watching. It's the first one in his highlight film. Like, oh my gosh, he juked out 11 players, broke 4 tackles here on the way to what was like a 70-yard touchdown, reading his blocks, running like a runner, all those things. It's crazy. And you know, he's getting away with this in high school. And you feel like at 6'2", 215, he's going to bring this level of dynamic ability to the football field in some form or fashion, even if he doesn't get these freaky level, like Lamar Jackson style plays at the next level. You know, as players get bigger, faster, and stronger around him, he won't be able to make every Superman play, but he's gonna make some of them, because he is a well-built, exceptionally fluid athlete. And the problem with those in high school tends to be that their athleticism gets them out of a lot of jams, and it's a cheat code, right? Like, they don't have to read defenses, so they don't learn the hard skills. But let's take a look at this particular play. 6-man pressure, man coverage, so the defense has an extra player out in space, and not only that, but this man coverage is done well. The primary target, I'd say, in this particular man coverage should be this crossing route here, but you've got the quarterback spy's got an eye on him, and 12 does get over there in time. So he does not have an early access throw, and he's got a 4-man pressure coming up here. The running back gives up a bit of a pressure, so he's got to step up in the pocket, right? So this isn't open, and then suddenly if he does have this throw, he has a guy in his lap. So a lot of times, panic, freak out, and just run, and if you're an athlete, that's the end of it. But look at the way he keeps his eyes down the field. He directs traffic, and he finds the receiver on the back end and turns that crossing route into a wheel, essentially, on the scramble adjust, and gets a big play. That is being a master of your athleticism. That's not just being a good athlete and being able to run away from people. That's using your athleticism and using at the quarterback to lethal advantage. And then, of course, when you do have the quarterback direct run here on an option, and you have a nickel corner coming to make a tackle, and then you truck stick him like a 9th grader, that is insane. And again, remember, this is his sophomore highlights. These are his sophomore highlights. And I think he was very good about deciding when to put these running plays in there to show them, but then most of it is him being a quarterback, right? Here's back-to-back designed runs, where he's got a designed run out of the backfield, and he's able to make plays, again, explosive runs from that quarterback position when it's 11-on-11 football and the defense doesn't have an advantage. You don't want to use that all the time, but you have it when it's there. Here we have another situation where he's scrambling, he's moving out of the pocket, and once again, situation down in distance, it's 3rd and 15, so they're running a stick route here. He's already decided that's not good enough because of the coverage and because of the rush. So he's got, whether this is an option for a block and for him to run, he's rolling this way. And you can see right now he's directing traffic and telling this receiver to change his stop route to go deep, because you've got a 2-deep structure, right? So you've got a safety here, you got a corner here who's trying to drop, and he is confident in his skills that he's going to drop the ball in over top along the sideline, and while running with somebody in his face, he gets the ball on the sideline. So using your athleticism in 3 different and distinct ways, in 3 different and distinct situations to make a good play. Now let's take a look at this final one, because this is the one where you just, like, as a defense, you just throw your hands up and you're like, I don't know what to do. Look at the blitz here. Look at all these players coming from this side. And so you get free runners at the quarterback, right? So he Armstrong executes the snap and immediately has a free runner in his face. And so what he does, is now he's on a new play. Like, okay, so whatever we were going to do throwing into this cover 3 is no longer going to work because they're bringing so many players and the offensive line isn't blocking that. So now he's just going to create as a quarterback. And when you have a quarterback that can throw the ball, and on third down, when you have a 3rd and 6 and they're bringing a 6-man pressure, and he can just beat it because he's a better athlete, what do you do as a defensive coordinator? All these things have to come through. All these things have to develop at the next level, but he can do all of these things, and he shows them on film. So it's a really dynamic player that also shows good passing ability, and that's very exciting if you're an offensive coordinator. So when we talk about James Armstrong and his gamerness, like it's not just about the winning, it's also about the style of play that he has. So there's a couple of things I want to show you here just as aspects of his throwing motion that change more than some of those robo QBs who've been taught how to throw the football since they were 10 years old. Multi-sport athlete. I think there's a little bit of baseball in his throw. So on this deep route, he's throwing a vertical here. Watch the way I'm not going to say he goes up on his toes, but he does raise up a little bit here as he throws the football. It's not a super efficient, clean delivery where it's all perfect. And he's a lefty, so it's going to break your brain. But don't focus on that. Focus on what we're talking about here. We talk about like the mechanics. So here, a little wide, right? So you see how this is a quick throw, so he's trying to get the ball out quickly. His goal is to get the ball into this tight window as quickly as possible. And you can see like his foot's out here, his foot is back. He's just like got this wide stance. No quarterback coach teaches this, but he's able to then deliver a strike for a completion. Remember, by the way, this is his highlight film. So these are the best throws that he's got. And we're seeing variance in the way he throws the football where like a quarterback that's been, trained and properly, like you're going to have, more of your weight, more of your body lean, more upright. And then you're going to be able to drive through here a little more efficiently and a little less kind of rock the boat looking. You know how he's kind of like, whoa. You see how there's, I don't want to say a wind up. That's the wrong word. But more of that body motion to get himself correct. He takes too big of a stride, then he has to get his body mechanics correct while not having the correct mechanics to then fix this and deliver an accurate strike. So highlights, but also like just the variance in some of the way he throws the football. Here again, you can kind of see there's a bit of a baseball wind up where he's crouching down, putting more power and more torque into this back foot. So it kind of brings his center of gravity down, and he's creating power in a bunch of different ways that most quarterback coaches don't teach. Now, I'm not a quarterback coach, so when it comes to some of these things, like there's some interpretation when it comes to what a player is taught and how he's delivering, but I am showing you what I definitely know is true to be different ways he's delivering the football on his highlight film. This is not like Ethan Grunkmeyer. The way he threw the football on every pass was the exact same. You've got the gamerness here of James Armstrong doing things differently for each throw in each situation, which is a little bit old school. Like we have perfected the craft of throwing the football and we are perfecting it more and more. Here we have a play where I think this is actually one of his better passes where there's a bit of this foot pop where he's able to generate torque despite being like 5 or 6 hitches deep, right? So he's waiting for this to come open. It doesn't come open, and he's deciding I'm going to throw it anyway and give my guy a chance. And then as he's throwing, you can see he's got to create that torque in his lower body. Everything about throwing in modern football is creating this torque with your hips, right? Being able to generate power from this location and then translate it through your arm to the football so it's consistently repeatable to get the ball where it needs to go. There aren't really any accuracy issues. Now, again, it's a highlight tape, but there aren't any things that I go, oof. I've watched him in person. I don't think we have any of those issues. So he does have that kind of, this is the hip mechanics, right? So this is the rotation you're looking for. I do think he's been taught this. He's not a baseball thrower where he's trying to use his legs to create the momentum. It's the hip snap that's driving the torque in his body, and I think he is consistently doing that, and we see this actually in person when we got to see him earlier this year. So this is later, this is in June of this year, as opposed to October, September, November from last year. And you can see much more consistency in a practice setting, but more consistency where he is driving with that hip. It's more in tune with his arm, and the ball is going to come out. Like the timing and the mechanics of these things are all in the ballpark of what we've seen from quality quarterback prospects previously. So whether it's in RPO, whether he's being rushed, these seem like he's working on this specifically, and he's getting better in this area. That's a big thing. You can see here the simulated rush and the one-on-ones where he is keeping his eyes downfield, and he's making accurate throws with mechanics while moved off the spot. All these things, I think, are good signs that he's improving in his consistency as a passer, even if he is not consistent yet. So the size, the athleticism, all those things are going to pay off if he's a quality quarterback prospect, and I think he is that for Penn State. So, Ryan, there's the film breakdown here for James Armstrong. Any final thoughts as we get through? Two things. You mentioned playing loose. I think you see that come through in his film. And then, of course, this is his 10th grade film. Like, we got to remember, this is not his junior film. This is still super early in his career. And I always get nervous of breaking down prospects that early in their career. But for a quarterback, if you're grading on that curve, I thought that was really excellent, even for a highlight tape just to go through. Got you muted.
Dang. I was trying really hard not to talk over the back of your film study there. You got me. But no, just can't stress enough. I'm a James Armstrong fan. And, I get it, right? I'm a journalist and not supposed to be a fan, but just his character, the way he presents himself, he is a great personality, leadership-wise, is perfect for quarterback. I really wholeheartedly believe that, and I think that's why this is such an important get here for Penn State. So, like you said, 2 more years of development. We're going to learn a lot about him this fall and, of course, into his senior season. But, to get a player as dynamic of an athlete as he is, who's going to do all the right things, say all the right things, recruit his butt off, help get some other guys into this program, leadership-wise, I just think it's really a home run, a perfect fit for Matt Campbell and his staff. And this is one Penn State fans really should be excited about.
So we got throwing, we've got running, we've got leading. I mean, sounds like a complete quarterback prospect when you look at all of those 3 things. Those are the 3 main things that a quarterback's going to be expected to do when he steps on the field for Penn State football. So we'll monitor James Armstrong for a very long time. Get to know this name because it's one that you're going to be hearing quite a bit on our site and, of course, here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe here for more information, more things that happen, maybe more in July, maybe more in August, but definitely we're getting really, really close to the season. So you want to subscribe so you don't miss any of our content and coverage for an exciting new chapter of Penn State football. For Ryan Snyder, I'm Thomas Frank Carr. We'll talk to you next time.